welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. I am Melanie, and today I'm doing my top 9 games of all the games that I have played during the month of October. So let's get looking. Before we get to do that, I'd like to look. Sorry, I can't find my mouse. There it is. All right, so I'd like to look at the stats. In the month of October, I have played 45 times of 31 different games. Now, I want to point out 10 of those plays was all a game of Moncala. So it's kind of fluctuated my plays a little bit, which is good because October felt really slow. We were really busy at work. There was lots of overtime happening as well. And then the weekend was kind of busy. So I didn't play as much as I wish I could have. But 31 games, 45 plays, it's decent for a month. Looks like I play with 18 different people. 18 different people. I must have attended an event or something that I'm slipping my mind or something. 26 of those games were my own copy. 9 of those were new to me this month. So 2% of my base collection got played. But if you look at the bar chart in the bottom there was a lot of days that just didn't have any gameplays. November is kind of looking like it's gonna be fairly busy as well. So hopefully I get to play more. But yeah, definitely I need to play more. And big problem with that, the thing is finding players, having willing players. I live in a very small community. My friends are busy. A lot of them have little kids. So my kids are in college, or working. So I'm in a different place, but yeah, we'll need to figure that out. But let's get started with the list, shall we? So in number 9 position for the games that I've played during the month of October, number 9 position is Cover Your Assets. This is a game that I played with a friend who came over, and we had a couple of her daughter and her daughter's friend was there as well. And I was like, you know what? I think you guys will enjoy this one. As I warn you, it can be a little mean. And that totally appealed to them. So Cover Your Asset is a very quick, simple card game. You have the deck of cards that you're going to shuffle. We start with 4 cards, and on your turn you can either put down a pair on top of your assets, or you can take 1 card from your hand if it matches the card that's on top of the discard pile to create a pair and put it on top of your cards, or you can discard cards to draw new cards. Or do you just draw new cards? I'll have to double check that. But and the goal is you're trying to create asset. Now, if you have a card in your hand that matches the top card of somebody's asset pile, you can, as long as it's not their only asset, you can't steal their one and only assets, but you can also try to steal the pile, and then they can protect it either by showing a card that matches that asset that'll protect it back, says no, you're not stealing that, and then maybe you have another, it's like, yes, I am, and it could go back and forth. But then you would get to take that whole pile of asset of that type and add it to your own assets, and you're trying to collect the most asset. This is a very greedy game, but now there's gold and silver, and gold and silver counts as wild, so you can utilize them for to stop the steal, or to create pairs and that sort of stuff, or to steal another person as well. So when you're doing this, now the game is called Cover Your Asset, because when you put a new asset on top of your asset pile, they can't get to the bottom stuff. They have to, the only thing they can steal is that top asset. So if you get one big pile that's kind of been moved around a little bit, so it's really built up and it's worth a lot, you want to put quickly a pair on top of that to kind of cover your asset, protect what's underneath, right? So it's just a really simple game, but it is so much fun. We had a blast. In fact, they went out and bought their own copies after this, after we played it. So I think that's a good indication of a great game. So that was number 9, Cover Your Assets. In number 8 position, I have Canopy Evergreen. So my friend Dave from the rathole.ca came over, and he brought this game for us to play, and it was really, really neat. And it was like Canopy Evergreen, and I was like, do I remember that? It seems like a month was a long time ago. Then I looked at the pictures, oh yeah, this game. And this game was really interesting. Now there's a whole 3D element to this, because you'll have trees that you're going to be adding onto your player board, and you're trying to link trees to other trees, and any connections that you do, you get to take that connection token. And in order to play those trees, you're going to need to have cards in your hand that'll allow you to play a tree. Now, some will allow you to kind of add the trunk, so the base, or kind of like a leafy bit. But then eventually you want to put the canopy, like the tip of the tree, and that's what will end that tree so that you can create the link, because you're creating links between like the tip of the tree. So you're trying to create the tips. This actually really is kind of like an what's the set collection game is what I'm trying to say, because the main part of this game is you're going to have these, well, we played 2 players, so it was 3 pine cones. So there's 3 pine cones. And the first one, you can look at what's in there and you decide, do you want this card or not? And then you're going to do what the card says. Now, it can give you different kind of species. Like some are, well, like plants or berries, and they're different things like that. And that can be used to score points at the end. But then you're getting the canopies as well, like the trees. And you'll be like, ooh, okay, I do want that. So I can build this up. So you can kind of take that. And there's other things that'll allow you to take. And there's like the resources, which will allow you to be able to collect some of the wildlife and the animals, which gives you kind of an ongoing ability and points down the road as well. So you're trying to do that. So there's a lot of different things you're trying to collect. Now, you're looking at the card. Do you want it or not? No, I don't really want this yet. Put it down. A card gets added to it. You go to the next pile and you look. Do you want this pile of cards? Well, it's a little bit more tempting, but you don't, like, there's a third pile there that has one more card. Maybe that one's even better. So do you put that one back? It could work, or try for the next one. And then say, okay, I will try for the next one. So then you add a card to that, and then you take the last pile, and then, oh man, I should have gone for pile number 2, but this could work or whatever. So it has some very interesting decision. Then you kind of play this in multiple rounds, and at the end of the round, you're going to score the different sets that you've created, and you're building the board as well. And then you add the animals. And then at the end of the game, once you've done multiple rounds of this, then you're going to score what you've created on your board, what you've got going on with your animals, because you can also get like the same animal cards of like, because there's similar animal cards, but like they're different value. But if you set like a pair, but if you have 3 of a kind, then it increases the number of points that you have. So it's really trying to gather the right things to get points, to get abilities. But it was a really interesting game. Artwork is beautiful, and with the 3D tree element aspect to it, it was like just so appealing and beautiful table presence. So it's a great game. I've only played it that one time. I don't own it yet. So some of the things are a little rusty, and I know them. Haven't explained everything great. That's just because I only played it that one time, but it made an impression. And that's why it's my number 8 on the list of games that I've played in October. Then in number 7 position, this is a game that was sent to me by Rio Grande Game. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to like this and I want to play it. And I finally played it, and it did not disappoint. And that is It's a Balloon. So this is a drawing game, and everybody gets one of these boards. And on the board, you have these great images in the back, and these images are just meant to be as reference points, because the person who is going to draw and giving the clue, like you have like 4 cards. So these cards are going to have multiple words. You pick the one you want to do. Some words are like, yeah, it's weird. Some words are going to give you more points than others, depending on how complicated it's going to be to get somebody to guess it. So like, okay, well, I'm going to pick this one. Obviously, in my case, I picked the telephone. So then I'm going to draw a telephone. But here's where this game is unique from every other game, is as I am drawing it, I'm describing what I'm drawing to the other players so that they can themselves draw what I'm describing. So I'm like, okay, draw a line that goes just before the headphones to just before the hand above the umbrella. Like, okay, and then drawing this. Now, from that line, circle around the hammer and circle around the octopus and join back to the other end of the line. Like, okay, and they're making that shape, right? And it's like, okay, so now from under meeting that shape, from under the hand, you'll want to go around to the side, like circling the hand, go up to the star, go all the way across to the pencil, go around the headphone. And hopefully what they're drawing and what I'm describing is good enough that they're making that shape as well. Like, okay, now in the middle of that first shape that we create, draw a big circle. And they're like, draw a circle, and inside that bigger circle, put a bunch of little circles along the edges, and they'll put a bunch of little circles. Hopefully what they draw looks like a phone. So it's really interesting. Yes, drawing skills sure involved, but it's more the communication skills. Are you describing what you're drawing well enough for somebody to be able to duplicate? There are times where it was not, and what they drew was like, I don't know what you draw, but mine doesn't look like anything at all. But it is so interesting that at any point when you think you know what the drawing is, you can stop. In the bottom, you're going to write the word, and there's two kind of bonus. So the first one to grab it would get an extra 2 points. The other one would get an extra point if they guess correctly. Now, if you guess correctly, you get a point. And then for the person doing the drawing, they get, depending if they picked a 1 word or 2 word, they'll get 1 or 2 points for everybody who guessed their drawing. So you really want to be able to have them guess the drawing. But this game is so unique. It's hilarious. We had a blast. We laughed. It was great. And that is my number 7. It's a Balloon. Then in number 6 position, we dusted a game off the shelf that hadn't been to the table for a while. And that is Century Spice Road. So me and Lee played one day. It was like, okay, well, what's the game we haven't played in a bit? And then we picked this one. Now, I have all the Century series. And I really got the Golem one. I have the Century one. Love the Century one. One thing that this series does that's so unique and I absolutely love is they provide in the game little component holders that, and then each set has their own set of little cups that you can put the components in. And I think that's genius. More games should do that. And the games are kind of doing that, but Century does it well. Now, Century Spice Road is the card-based version of this game. And it's all about collecting resources, transforming those resources, and kind of trading it to be able to complete these requirements for point cards. Now, but it's a deck building as well. So you're going to have cards in your hand. This one allows me to, collect 2 yellow cubes. This one will trade my 2 yellow cubes into a red cube or whatever it is. This one will allow me to upgrade my 1 cube into the next level cube. So I can take a 1 upgraded to a green, or take a green upgraded to a brown, or whatever. And you're doing all these actions trying to get the necessary cubes that you need to complete those orders at the top. So that's good. You want to do that. But then there's also a market of cards that you can acquire and then be like, okay, well, I'm going to take this one. So on your turn, instead of like doing a cube trade or collecting, you can draw a card. Now, if you want, like, I really want the 3rd card, then you would have to leave a cube in the first 2, whatever cube they are, and take the first card. And then that kind of slides and refills. And if anybody takes a card that has cubes on it, well, then they get to collect those cubes and add it to their pile. But you have a limited amount of cubes that you can hold. So there's that going as well. That at any time, you can take for your turn where you bring everything back into your hand, because they're not in your hand necessarily. You got to take an action to do that. And you're doing it until somebody has collected so many orders, and then it's whoever has the most point is the winner. It's a simple game, really. It's a very simple game. It's about collecting resources and trying to trade them to fulfill orders. But it's satisfying, and it's neat, and it's kind of like, hey, well, I need to activate this. And because you're planning ahead. You're trying to see what you got, what do you need, what action should happen for that to happen. And it's satisfying. Century Spice Road is so good. And that's why it's my number 6 for all the games I played in the month of October. In number 5 position is a new game that I had kickstarted and just delivered, and that is Twinkle Twinkle. So beautiful box, beautiful artwork, and I was really impressed with this puzzly little tile laying game. So the way that it works, everybody has a card and you have a grid. And in this grid, you're going to be placing tiles. There are see-through tiles that'll have like constellation bits or planets or black hole or satellite or different things like that. And as you place them, you're trying to create different things because each one of them is going to score differently. Black hole doesn't score if it's next to another black hole. So you're trying to keep the black holes away from each other, but it's going to score more if it's next to a planet, or if it's not next to a planet and stars. So you're trying to avoid that as well. So that instead of 2 points, they're worth 5 points. The stars themselves, you will score your 2 largest constellations. So every star you have in the constellation is going to give you points. So the more star you have, the more points they're worth. So you're trying to create nice large constellation, but you also score for the most amount of constellation, and the more different constellation of 2 stars or more, the more point that's going to be. So you're trying not to make just one big giant one. You're trying to create little ones on the side as well so that you can score those also. And you're trying to kind of plan all of this. Now the action selection is very interesting as well, because you have, depending on the number of players, you get like 1 more tiles that you're going to put out. In a 2-player game, you get to draw twice. So you would kind of put your tiles there, and then you see the next tiles that's going to come up. So if you got 4 players, there's 4 new tiles that's going to come. 2 players, there'd be 4 new tiles because you select 2, and so on. 3 players, it would be 3 new tiles coming in. So you can kind of see what's coming. So be like, okay, well, then that's coming. I would really want this one next, but I think Lee would as well, so I would need to get first dibs for picking. So in the first one, that back one there is nice, but that puts me in last position because what you pick also determines the turn order. So maybe I should take that first tile to guarantee I go first. So you're going to take that, you put your little standee in front of the tile, or the tile that you take. You add the tile to your tableau, and that determines the next order of picking for the next round. So then it's interesting, but it's so satisfying. I've played it with Lee, and I've played it with my stepdaughter Lily, and it's just a neat, beautiful looking game. But it's simple. It's a very straightforward, simple game to play, but it has that really satisfying gameplay to it. And that is my number 5, Twinkle Twinkle. In number 4 position is another oldie game that I kind of pulled to the table. My stepson was over with his girlfriend, and we ended up playing that with them. And that is Pandemic. Now, Pandemic is a game that was so well designed. They figured out an amazing formula here for a cooperative game, and you will see this formula reapplied again and again and again and again to kind of create a whole genre. But Pandemic is so satisfying. So as I mentioned, it's a co-op game. You're trying to battle disease that is spreading across the world. So in order to win, you need to get a cure for all 4 disease. In order to get a cure for the disease, you need to have 5 cards of the same color of that disease. And then take those 5 cards and give them to the research center to do the research to come up with the cure. So you need to find those cards. The way that you can find the cards, you're going to be drawing with some cards. You're going to have some cards. So that's good. You can trade with other players if you're in the same city, matching the city that is the tile or the card you want to share. So if I have a Montreal card and I want to give you the Montreal card, well, we need to meet in Montreal so I can slip you the Montreal card, right? You can spend these cards to travel to the destination that is on there. Or if I don't need the Montreal card, and I'm in Montreal, I could spend the Montreal card to go anywhere in the world, because there's the movement as well, and you can only go from location to location that are kind of near, and then that counts as one movement. And it's neat. It is interesting, and it all sounds great and easy, but every round the infection, like these disease spread, so you kind of flip a card and then you spread the disease. If you ever collect more than 3 cubes in one city, an outbreak happens, and then it just spreads to all the surrounding area. Sounds familiar, right? Like, pandemic was designed before we had the COVID pandemic. Who knew this would have become a reality? When this came out, excuse me, nobody thought this would be kind of like, it was fictional, right? But this feels a lot truer than it is. But the gameplay is so satisfying, so that's why it's my number 4. Then in number 3 position is a new game that I had played. Carla had it, so I played her copy. I have since purchased my own copy, or did I have my own copy was on its way, something like that. But this is Galieo Galilei, and so it's about, I don't know what it's about. Like, it's about discovering the planets and the stars and constellation or something. I mean, this theme is pasted on. Excuse me. So they did a really good job with it. Your action selection is so interesting. You can move your telescope to the action you want to do. You can't go backwards, right? Like, so you move until it resets, and then you move to where you want to go. So you can move your telescope to whatever action you wish to do. When you do the action, that action resets. It goes into the base. Those first 2 actions you can't do, and then it kind of slides everything over, and then you would go and do the next action. So it's really interesting that way. You have your player board, and you have these books you're going to study, and then as you move across the books, you get to collect the icons that are on there. There's these different planets and constellation that you can study, and that's going to give you different things. And you can do kind of 2 level of it. You can kind of acquire that card to add it, or you can kind of add tokens to that card to get the little benefits that they give out. And then you have like comments that allows you to kind of create extra, because you get the dice. So there's yellow dice, blue dice, and red dice. And in order to get these constellation, or to kind of partake in that, you need to have a certain amount of value for each of the colored dice. That will have like a different, maybe this one needs 2 blues and 3 reds, right? So you have the dice, but like the action will allow you to collect these dice. They allow you to increase the value on those dice, because the dice are never rolled. And then you can spend them to be able to acquire those cards, or to place a token on those cards. So you need to have the necessary dice to be able to activate and get those things. And then there's a lot of different tracks that you're trying to build up on, because that's going to determine your score. So it's going to be like, hey, for the star track, depending on how far you got, you're going to score 1 time that total, or 2 times that total, depending on how much you've moved on this track. And you have all these different things that you're trying to move up on, so that you can best score on those things. And that also kind of determines, okay, well, I'm kind of going heavy with these comets here. So if I want to score more for comets, I need to go up on this. So I'm going to concentrate on that. And they do it well. And then you have these little guys. I don't know. They're like robed figures. And I don't know what their name is now. But when you bring them in, the first one is worth negative points if they stay there. So you want to push them forward, and then there's actions that's going to allow you to upgrade them. And as they push forward, they will eventually become and be worth positive points. But they do different things as well. So, and then I forget. But I've played this one only once. And then I had bought my own copy because it was a very interesting gameplay. It's one that obviously I need to play again, because every rule is not kind of perfectly secured in my head. But the action selection portion of this, all the different things that you can do for points. So me and Carla played this kind of concentrating on different things completely. It kind of looked like she had the lead all along, but I had a few good multipliers for things that I had. So I ended up getting enough points to kind of catch up and surpass her. So I'm pretty sure I won this game. But it was so neat, so satisfying. Loved the theme, the artwork, the whole thing, how it looks. It was a really neat game, and that's my number 3, Galieo Galilei. All right. Then for my number 2 game, my brother came over a day, and we ended up playing a couple of games. And the next 2 games actually are my next 2 games for the month of October. So the first one that we played, that's not true. That's the second one we played when he came over, is Obsession. He had never played it, so we set it up, taught him how to play it. We played it wrong. We restarted. And it just was really unclear reading the rules, kind of when you got to reset things. Like, did you get to do the actions again and again and again multiple times until you're out of servers? And it's not. Each time you do one action and you move on to the next one. This game has like a short version of the game, a long version of the game as well. So that's why there's a big time difference there. I think we ended up playing with a shorter version. Probably, well, because we had to restart, that was good. But the game, okay, theme-wise, this is a neat game. So if you look at the artwork, like, you get a bunch of tiles that has like no motives. You have cards that has really old-fashioned black and white pictures. It's not a game that I would say was like, wow, this is a beautiful game. But it suits the era of what the game is when the game takes place, right? It suits the game quite well. But it's just artwork-wise, it's not a stunner. It's not one that'd be like, wow, that one was so beautiful, but it works. And what's really interesting is you're going to have a set of different activities that you can do. This is courtship season, and you're trying to attract people over and invite people over, and then try to kind of, elevate your ranks so that you become, your children are, make suitable matches for themselves during the courtship season. So, but it's going to require different things. You're going to need money. You're going to need to build up your reputation as well, so that you can have more valued guests, and that will, attract more. So there's all that kind of going on. But when you have these guests over, they're going to require some attending to. So they might need ladies' maids. They might need a valet. They might need, so you have your staff that's going to need to, and then the staff needs to put the event together as well. They need to prep for this. So maybe you have the cook that's going to prepare the event, and then you're inviting a lady that needs a lady's maid, and you're invited this gentleman who's going to need his valet. So you need to have those staff available, and then you apply, so it's kind of worker placement. So you'll kind of select the staff, you kind of assign them to do this event. But that's great, because doing the event gives you like $200. But then this lady, because she has, such a great reputation, she elevates your reputation by 2 points, so you can go up 2 points, which will kind of give you, as you increase your reputation, access to be able to do better events and invite more distinguished guests. So there's all of that going on. Now, that staff needs to rest. They've just put in a big event. So they're going to go back to their servant quarters. They're going to relax for a bit before they're available to help out again. So do you want to hire more staff so that you have more servants available to take care of your guests? Or, are you gonna we'll do the different kind of event and invite different guests next time so that it doesn't utilize the same servants again? The whole thing, describing it, and I remember describing this to my friend Travis, and he's like, wow, that sounds horrible. He's like, it did not appeal at all. And unless you're like a Jane Austen fan, the theme might not appeal. But the gameplay is good. And the whole puzzle thing, and then you kind of acquiring the new events and that sort of, it just works so well. Obsession is amazing, and that's my number 2. Then in number 1 position is the other game that I played with my brother, and we ended up playing this one a couple of times back to back, and this is Undaunted Normandy. I purchased this game a few years back. It's one that I had my eye on for a long time now. So I'm a big fan of the Memoir 44. So I kind of like the war themes in games. This one, theme-wise, very similar. It's replaying the battles of Normandy. And it's a 2-player game, so very similar. The gameplay is very different. And I was impressed with this. So you're going to create your map with these tiles. You're going to put it in. And then you're going to have some of your troops. They're little tokens that's going to go in one place. The other team's going to have their troops and their tokens in the other place on this same map. Some of the locations are going to give you victory points if you control them. So that's the goal. You need to control so many areas so that your total victory point meets what the game requirement is for that particular scenario. Now, you have your troops, but you can't just send them out. A scout has to go and check out these different things first. So you have your scout that you need to send out. They're going to mark the location they visited so that you know you can go there. The scouts visited, and then if you send one of your troop there, if there's no enemy on that site and this has been scouted, you can take control of that location, which if it has value, then you would gain the value. If it's no value, like you could take control, but there's really no point to it. So you really want to take control of those tiles that have control value. So you need to scout them first, you need to send your troops there, and you need to take control. You cannot do that if there's enemies on site. Now, this is where the game I think does so well is with the battle element of it. So if there's an enemy there, you're going to need to battle them. And then, so if you're in the same space, then it's whatever the defense of the terrain is. So in the trees, maybe there's a defense of 2. Maybe you're in a field, there's a defense of nothing. But if you're 1 tile away, then you have to add 1 to the location that you're kind of determines their defense. So whatever their defense is, plus their location defense, plus how far you are, increases their defense. Then you are going to need to roll dice that is better than that total defense. So I'm like, okay, well, you have a defense of 5, so I'm going to roll dice. I'm going to try to be greater than the 5 to battle you. If you're greater, then that's great. You battle them. They have to discard a card that either is in their hand. If it's not in their hand, in their discard pile. If not in the discard pile, in their draw pile of the troop that matches what you are attacking. So if I'm attacking your scout, then you're going to have to discard a scout card. If you do not have a scout card in your hand, in your discard, or in your draw pile, the scout token comes off the map. So you need to attack possibly multiple times before you can remove that enemy unit from the map. But you might have cards that are, because you have cards that you can acquire. It's called kind of like encouraging, like your recruit. So you have these recruit cards that's available. Some cards will allow you to recruit. And you'd be like, okay, well, I can recruit. And if you have another one of those, then you can bring that card back in. It goes in your discard pile when you're done with your cards. And it reshuffles. It becomes in your draw pile. And if it becomes in your hand and you have a scout again, then you can spawn a scout back on the map in the location that shows where they can spawn. So it's a strategic game. This is definitely a strategic game that is so satisfying to play. I won the first game, so we played again. There was tons of back and forth with the second one. It's like, oh my God, are we going to make it? And we're battling back and forth. And then he sneaked and got the victory. My brother did. But it was so neat. And I really enjoyed this one, and that was Undaunted Normandy, my number 1 for the games played in the month of October. And that was the first time I played it with another player. Like I had played it by myself to kind of learn the rules, but in a 1-versus-1 battle is not the same. You can't just solo that. So excited I finally got to play this one with somebody else, and it's just as amazing as I thought it would be. And yeah, so that was my number 1. So here's a recap of all the games that I have, or all the games I made the top 9 for the month of October. And here's the look at the stats again. So 45 plays of 31 different games with 18 different people. 10 days out of the month of October days that I ended up playing. And yeah, there was tons that got played. There were lots of fun. Moncala didn't quite make my list. It would have been like probably right up there because we played it so much. And it was at Thanksgiving. Me and Patrick sat down and played it again and again and again and again. Patrick is hard to beat. And this is like an abstract strategy game. And I'm kind of bringing it up as my honorable mention. But here's all the other games that I got to play. So these ones and then all of these ones. And it was a good month. So be sure to follow me. My Facebook is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram at Mel's Board Game Room. Mel's _ Board Game Room _ just read. I can't talk apparently. Also do a podcast with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist. And of course, my YouTube channel called Mel's Board Game Room. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody. I got to get my mouse again. Oh my gosh. I'll just go get this one here. There we go.